All right, let's do this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. Okay, let's talk about this. All right, yeah. Save your coin. Learn how to revamp your own wig. Okay, that's what we're gonna do today. Yeah. Okay, hey guys. So, I wanted to come on here and show you what I did to this wig and how I revamped it, and how you can do this to your wigs as well by just grabbing an old frontal that, or maybe a new frontal, and replacing the existing frontal, right? So this is the unit that I had from, that I made quite some time ago, from Levana Noah. Wait a minute, my camera is angle is down too much. Come up a little bit. Come up a little bit. Why you down there like that? That's better. All right, that's a little better. So this is the this is my custom blend hair that I had got from Nirvana Noah some years ago, and I did a review, update on this hair on of this unit of when I wore it, when I first made it, when I first wore it as a sew-in, and then I made it as a unit, and how the hair compared and how the hair was still holding up many years later, right? So this is that hair. Now, as I said in that video, I hated the frontal. I don't know if I said it or not, but y'all, I hated that damn frontal. That frontal was not the best. Okay, it was Swiss lace. It was like the very first batch that the company made. It was actually the very first frontal the company made. So the hair in it was raw hair. It was the same hair from the actual blend that I got from the company. So because of that, I did not want to get rid of that frontal. But I absolutely hated it. I hated that damn frontal. That frontal, I made it work for many years. I made it work. Now, it lasted. However, it was like this much lace. It probably was 1.5 inches of lace left. So it was only enough lace to mimic a hairline. Okay. So it had some issues. Okay. But it still looked beautiful. So what I did was I decided, I said, okay, I am over it and I really love that hair. So I really need to replace the frontal. So what I did was I'm going to show you guys in the clips to follow how I redid this wig, okay? And you can, I'm going to attach or have an end card somewhere showing you the video where I did the comparison from when I first got the hair to many years later wearing the same hair. I love this hair. This is like one of my favorites. And that's why I had to make it into a unit, because I want to constantly revisit this hair. And this is a unit. And I also sewed this unit down. There is no glue, none of that kind of stuff to hold this unit down. I just stitched it down and she is on. Okay? She on with no type of adhesive or anything. So, yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys, that if you have some type of unit that you absolutely love, and unfortunately maybe your frontal is balding and you need to replace it, and you feel like the unit is just no good anymore because the frontal has seen better days, no, stay with me. Stay with me. Let me show you how we can fix it, okay? Let me show you something. Let me show you something, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how I revamped this wig. I'm going to do a spin. I'm going to do a spin. Now you understand why I had to revamp this wig, okay? I could not let this beautiful hair just sit. You know, I wanted it to sit on my head, okay? So I'm going to show you what I did to get to this point and the clips to follow. So if you have any questions, I tried to make, okay, let me explain. I tried to make the video clips because I thought about it at the last minute and said, oh, I should be recording this to share with my peeps, right? So bear with me. I'm gonna try to explain what I did. I didn't use my sewing machine because I felt like that was being a little too unrealistic. Nobody wants to pull out a sewing machine to add on a frontal. Everybody doesn't have a sewing machine and everybody doesn't know how to sew. But doing a basic stitch, you can do a basic stitch. All you need is a needle, some thread, and some scissors, okay? Those 3 things are what you need to revamp your wig. Now, what I will say is this. You have to make sure that, and if you're not able to do it, ladies, maybe, reach out to your stylist or someone that does hair, and they can probably help you with that. One thing that you want to do, though, is before applying the new frontal, okay, you want to measure out either, measure out your hairline, right? From ear to ear, right? From ear to ear. You want to measure that. Take your measuring tape and measure your measurement from ear to ear. Hold on one second. Let me grab my measuring tape so I can show you what I mean. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I have a unit here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So what I mean is you want to measure. It might sound complicated, but it's really not. It's not complicated. All right, so here's my measuring tape, right? You can get one of these from like the dollar store. It's a fabric measuring tape. Sometimes they come in like a little like a set, right? Where you get this, the needles and all that stuff, and little scissors, right? But anyway, I like these because, you can go from here, you can mold it to your head. So you want to measure from ear to ear, right? Like that. So my measurement is 12, right? So it's 12. So from this ear to this ear is 12. And this is where I will cut my frontal, the new one, or the one that we're going to use to replace in our wig, right? It's going to be 12. So you get your old wig, the wig that you want to replace the frontal in, right? And see, I always put measurements on my mannequin heads, so when I'm making units, I can know exactly what I'm dealing with. Like this mannequin head, the circumference is 21 and a half, which is the size of my head. Okay, so now 12, right? So 12 from here to here, 12 inches. Now most frontals come in a 13, meaning it's going to be 13 inches across the hairline. For those who need a little more or a little less, to give you 13 so that you can cut it to the size that you need. Okay. Now, excuse some of the gook on my lace. It's a little dirty, but okay, like this unit that I made. Okay, so say I wanted to replace this frontal, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that they're the same size. So you don't want to just go in with a brand new frontal that's a 13 and your hairline might be a 12. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that your measurements are right. So grab you one of these. And like I said, take your measurement. Or if you want to use an old frontal that's already been cut to your hairline, you could do that. And it makes it a lot easier if you're using an old frontal because it's already been cut. But if it's new, I'm telling you how to do it if it's new. So now, see, the thing about it is this is already in a curve shape, right? But when you first get your frontal, of course, it's going to be laying flat. I'm talking to the ladies who are getting a new frontal. So you want to make sure that when you have your new frontal, that it's going to measure out. You want to cut it from ear to ear. Just put it up on your, use your head as the mold and put the frontal on your head and cut it to the shape of, to your ears, right? You want to cut that off, cut that off. Because we want to make sure we're using the same size to replace this. You don't want to go and put a different size frontal on here that's a different size from ear to ear. I don't, this part, it could be a 13 by 6 that you're replacing it, which means it's going to be 6 inches from here to the hairline, or it could be a 13 by 4. But I always suggest staying with the same size frontal that you already had in your unit. So if your unit had a 13 by 4, about 13 by 4. Okay, because I don't want to get into all that wig making stuff. It might be a little too much information. But anyway, so the objective is to cut this one away and stitch the new one in its place, right? So I just wanted to show you guys really quickly what this looks like. I don't know how the video is going to come out with the clips that I'm inserting, but we want to make sure that what we are doing is that the old frontal and the new frontal are the same in length across the hairline, right? Because we're going to replace it and we need it to be the same. So anyway, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking this part here All right. And we're just going to stitch the new one right across that line. Oh, shoot. Right across that line. See that? See the line there? You want to stitch right across that line. And then when we finish stitching it and have it attached, we're going to go back in and I'm going to show you on the video. And you're going to have two frontals now attached to the one unit. But you're going to cut away the old one. So you still might have a little bit of the old frontal left, like this part. You still might have that left, and you want to keep it because that's what's holding it together. Because if you take this off, you're going to detach the entire wig, and you don't want to do that. So you want to keep this line right here, okay? But we're going to cut away the old part. We're going to cut all this right here away. Cut that away, okay? All right, I hope that makes sense to the ladies that know, you know, right? It might seem a little complicated, but it's not. It's really not. And so, in theory and in practice, what you'll do is you cut away the old frontal by attaching it to the existing frontal. Then you okay, let me back up. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be attaching the new frontal to the existing old frontal. And then once it's attached, you're going to cut away the old frontal. Okay? You're going to cut that away. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the clips. And if you have any further questions, just leave them down below and I'll try to answer them as best I can. But yes, it's not complicated if you've been making wigs. Even if you don't make wigs, it's not that complicated. It's really not. It's just a matter of knowing that you need to have them the same, I guess, length from ear to ear, right? And once you have your old frontal, put it up against, your new frontal, put it up against the old frontal and make sure that they're measuring out the same. Because all you're doing is you're going to be stitching it, the new frontal on this line here. I don't know what they call it, but anyway, this barrier that they have here, you're going to be stitching a new one onto that. Okay. And the way that I do is I hold it just like this and I stitch it like that. And then I go back in and I cut this part away. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you guys what I did. Like I said, if you have any questions, please leave them below. I'm going to link the old videos to this hair when I did the comparison from when I first got the hair years ago. I can't even remember how long it's been years to me wearing it. I think in 2023 or 2024. I can't remember. But yeah, but this thing, the lace on it was about an inch. I had this much lace. And it was Swiss lace. And the only reason why I held on to it that long is because of the hair that was ventilated in that lace. If it wasn't for that hair being so pretty, I would have been did it. So I was trying my best to hold on to it as long as I could because I knew it was raw hair. And I have it around here somewhere. So hold on. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. So I got some examples. All right. So I know sometimes you need a visual. So I got this old front. I got this frontal. This is I'm just using this for an example. Now you see how they have the, I forgot what this is called, but anyway, how they have the barrier stitch here, right? Okay. So what we're doing is we're going to take this. So this is the one that I'm going to use to replace on this wig, just as an example, right? So it's already been measured. So this one is already pre-cut. So just say, for example, you have your new frontal. So you need to make sure that it's pre-cut from ear to ear, okay? All right, so that's what this one is. We're at that stage with this one. All right, so now in my other unit, in my unit that I need to replace, this lining here is, I'm going to line this up. And you got to make sure you comb the hair stuff out the way. And take you some pins, like some little, some little straight pins, and line it up, right? So you're going to line up your frontal. Okay. So you line those two up like that. Make sure they're the same length. See that? Just stopping there. Going on around. And that one is stopping there. So what I would do is I'm going to take my straight pins and I'm going to pin them together, right? So once I get them pinned together, this is what I'm stitching together. So I'm going to be stitching this onto this, right? So once you stitch those together, I need some straight pins. Pin these. So you want to line everything up. You line it up. See, that's why I did it over there on my sewing table. But I'm trying to show you guys what I mean. But anyway, you line these up, right? So you want to put this with this. So you line the two threadings or whatever they call this stuff, ribbon or whatever they call it. You line those up together because that's what you're going to stitch together. So you're going to stitch all this together. See, you're going to stitch these together. That easy. Stitch, 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 stitch. Stitch, 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 stitch. Stitch, 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 right? Because they the same. Get the hair out the way. They the same length, right? Right. So we're going to stitch those together. Okay. I'm just going to pin this up real quick like I stitched them just to show you what I mean. So I know this video is a little unorthodox, but it's a spur of the moment type thing. I just thought about this. I should have did this before. So we're going to stitch this up. And I'm going to show you that in the clips to follow. But at least this way I can explain with a visual so you can see what I mean. Okay. Like I said, I mean, everybody may not be able to do this, but those who get it, they'll get it. And at least you ladies can understand the construction of some of these units. All right. So just for example, I've stitched all these two together. So what's happening is now you got this one, right? And I don't even know if that makes sense. And this one together. So now I'm going to cut this one away right there on that line. It's not making much sense. I don't know if it's making much sense to y'all, because I would have normally taken that band off. But now what we're going to do is we're going to cut that one away after it's stitched together. Okay. But let me show you what I took out of this unit. Look at this. So yeah, it was time for this to go. But I'm not throwing it away because I can get creative sometime and I'll figure out something to do with this. So I always tell my clients, don't throw, they come back with bags of like scrap hair. And I'm like, don't throw that away. We might be able to use it for something. So I'm not throwing this away because I might be able to use it for something. Just not this unit, okay? So yeah. So watch the clips to follow. And if you have any questions, come on back. Feel free to ask me, okay? All right. Okay, so here I am showing you guys what I actually did to this unit. So this is the old frontal, the Swiss lace that I wanted to replace with a different frontal. So I'm showing you the construction of the wig and where we're going to start pinning the actual replacement frontal. So we're going to pin it right along that ribbon line there, and we're going to make sure that it's the same size. What's important is lining them up and making sure that they are the same size, because you don't want to mess up the construction of the wig once you start to take it apart. So it has to match up exactly. Okay, so it's very important to take those measurements at the beginning, like I stated, because when you're replacing this frontal, you're going to be replacing it with something that's the exact match. That's the only way that it's going to work, guys. If not, you're going to be doing a lot of adjusting to your unit, and if you haven't constructed wigs before, you don't want that to happen. So please double check your measurements. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure that those two frontals line up. So I'm taking some straight pins and I'm going to pin the two ribbons together, okay, which is the thick part of the frontal that you see there. So I'm going to pin those two together because they're going to become one. We're going to stitch, that's what we're going to stitch together. Okay, we're going to stitch those two together. As you can see, that's not lining up, so I need to take that apart. So I'm going to show you, this happens from time to time. So if it's not matching up, take the pins out. okay, and line that up. So it's not matching, so I'm going to take that pin out and I'm going to match it up exactly, because you don't want your wig to be off. Okay, so now I'm just going to make sure that, and it might be easier sometimes, guys, I know it's in a circle because our heads are circular, so it may be a little tricky for some people to work with that shape, but I'm kind of used to doing it, so it doesn't bother me at all. But if you have to make it flat with your new frontal, you know, it might be a lot easier because I'm using an existing frontal that I already cut, so it has the bands and stuff on the end. But if you're using a new one, it might be a lot easier because it's nice and flat. But anyway, as you can see, I am lining up my 2 ribbons because I need to make sure that they line up exactly, because that's where I'm going to be stitching. Okay, so the straight pins are actually needed. I know in the video earlier I said that you only needed 3 things, but you actually need 4, which is going to be your scissors, your needle and thread, your pins, and what I said, and scissors. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just lining those 2 ribbons up, and I'm going to straight pin those all the way across so that I can have a guideline to stitch. And you want to continue to move the hair out the way, so you're going to also probably need a combing brush or a vent brush to kind of brush the hairs away, because the hairs will get in the way. But if you do this a few times, it's not as difficult as it seems. It's just a matter of taking your time, moving the hairs out the way, and lining up those 2 ribbons. And I didn't want to speed this up because I want you to see how to do this part. This part is very important. And another thing too, as you can see, I'm actually stretching and pulling the 2 frontals because I want to make sure that they are the same length and that they're actually matching up. Okay, so now that I have those lined up, I'm just double checking and make sure that everything's lined up. The next step is going to be to stitch those 2 ribbons together so that they can become one. So I'm just double checking to make sure that everything's lining up and just reinforcing a couple of places that I see to make sure that they're lining up. And that's what you want, okay? You want to line up like that. And you're going to stitch right there where I'm showing you. That's what you're going to stitch together. So here I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm just actually stitching those 2 together. And make sure you're only stitching together the 2 ribbons and nothing else. The 2 ribbons from the old frontal and the new replacement frontal. That's all you want to be stitching, nothing else. So take your time when you're stitching, guys, and make sure that you're only stitching those 2 things. So now I'm done with my stitching and I'm showing you what I've done here, and that is the stitch. It doesn't have to be pretty as long as it's functional. And you can always go back. Those who know how to use a sewing machine, you can always go back and reinforce that stitch with maybe a zigzag stitch from your sewing machine, but I didn't feel the need to do that. This is for my own personal use. This is not for a client. And here's the old frontal that I'm going to actually take that old frontal and I'm going to cut that away. So the only thing that's going to be left is like that ribbon, maybe a little bit of lace that I couldn't cut, But yeah, see how I'm cutting it away, and I'm cutting it really, really close to the ribbon, but you don't want to cut the ribbon, because remember, those two are stitched together, so that's what's keeping the wig, the new frontal, on. So the new frontal is still attached to the old ribbon, the old frontal's ribbon. Okay, so be careful when you're cutting it away. You don't want to cut too close. Now, don't worry about that existing little lace there. You can always cover that up with hair color or hair color spray, and plus the hair is going to cover that too. So don't worry about that too much. But that's it, guys. That's how you replace your frontal.